It's your boy Freelancer Joe, and it is once again time for Drinks with Joe. Yes, the time of the week when we do a retrospective, because if you want to know where you're going, or if you want to get to a specific place, it helps to know where you've been. And after having botched that saying, I'm going to go ahead and pour myself that drink. Oh, great news. So my concerns about, let me make sure I hold this up high enough, of finding enough or having an adequate supply of LaCroix, it turns out are completely unfounded. I did one more pass in the supermarket yesterday when I did my shopping. No, this morning actually. And as it turns out, they actually are stocking LaCroix again. Now, it's still a good idea to have an alternate identified, but when you have a favorite, it's always nice to know that you have a favorite, or that you're able to get your favorite. Now, so what happened was, they have, as most supermarkets do, they have a soda aisle, and they were stocking the LaCroix at the head, right? Not actually in the aisle, but on the head outside the aisle. I've been there for like months, and then it started getting lower and lower in supply. I was like, maybe they're not going to stock it anymore. And then sure enough, a couple weeks ago when I went there, it wasn't there anymore. But they had moved them into, I'm going to say, like the unsorted aisle, like the place where it just doesn't make sense to have anything. And again, the supply was getting lower and lower, and then until finally there was no more. So that's why I assumed that that they were not going to stock them anymore. But I did one more pass this morning, another pass this morning, and it turns out, yeah, no, they have them. I have plenty of them, so that's great. But still going to experiment and see if the alternate works. I haven't gotten into the Waterloos yet, but we'll see. But other than that, how are you all doing on this fine and wonderful, crisp fall morning? Oh, not morning, afternoon. Woo, how much of this have I had already? I don't know. Well, one sip, so not much. And I haven't been hitting the bottle before I started recording this. But yeah, it's a nice, you got a grayish blue sky, nice and cold. I'd say about 70% of the leaves are off the trees. Yeah, it's definitely feeling like fall. It will be perfect for Thanksgiving week, which is next week, which is awesome. For those of you who are going to have the turkey and the stuffing and all the cool stuff. Yeah, probably not myself. But such is the life of a freelancer. Let me see. I'm doing good, and I hope you're doing good. I mean, I'd be doing better if I had a chance to chat with my honey bunny this morning, but I didn't, because I suspect she has the moon sickness. It seems like it happens almost every month, you know? I can blame that on the 2 sips. But at the very least, I am recording on the proper date, and seem to be back on schedule after the whole car maintenance thing yesterday. Actually, no, I am completely back on schedule. I mean, I'm maybe about an hour late on recording this. And then, as I mentioned, that I did grocery shopping this morning, and I also did the laundry, but that catches me up on everything. And I was pretty impressed yesterday that I was able to do my training and finish up the cleaning chores, other than the laundry. That's how much mental fortitude and discipline that I have. I certainly wasn't feeling motivated, but I had the discipline to get it done, even though it was off schedule. So, yeah. Now, the car itself is doing fine. It's just the regular, 6 months maintenance. Pretty impressive, since it was manufactured in October of 2009. I purchased her January 2010. I guess it takes a couple months for it to get across the seas. Yeah, that's a 9-year-old car. So You'd think I'd be considering new ones. Not really. The card is fine. Trying to think about that. I really just can't justify it. I mean, car's working fine. It's serving my purposes. Just low mileage. I mean, and I really don't like making monthly car payments. Although, when I finished off the payments on this one, because I finished early, basically the monthly payments instead I just made to myself into a separate savings account. So not enough to outright purchase another car of similar price, but I mean, I could at least do a smaller car. But even then, coughing up like, you know, 15 G's just for a new car just to avoid payments. So the car's fine. Plus, eventually, I mean, if I want to, well, there will be future expenses. Let's leave it at that. Not unsubstantial expenses too. So, if I don't need to spend the money, then I'm not going to spend the money. But speaking of spending money, I mean, so it was supposed to be, it was regular maintenance stuff, but there was also the standard recommendations of the dealer, you know, replacing fluids and replacing filters and things like that. And I suspect part of the reason why the car lasts as well, or has done as well as it has, is because I pretty much always do those recommendations. So yeah, that was a couple $100. Which is rather unfortunate, because this weekend was the Nation's Gun Show, and it's been a long time since your boy Freelancer Joe has bought any toys. But and there are lots of new toys that I would like to get. Having said that, nothing clenches up my wallet faster than dropping a couple hundred on unexpected expenses. I was kind of expecting maybe 100, 150, but multiply that by 3, and that's what we were talking about. So you can see why I didn't really, well, as much as I wanted to go to the Nation's Gun Show, I wasn't going to go. But yeah. Yeah, well, on the plus side, I mean, there's new stuff to watch on Netflix, so, hey, I'm happy about that. I'm subtly looking at my notes to see if I've covered everything. And it looks like I certainly have. Perhaps a little bit too quickly. Oh, so, and this is, I'm going to say, the small world kind of thing. So I'm walking up to the cashier at the car dealer to make my payment. And she's like, wait, she's looking at my address. She's like, 814, alright, 814D? I'm like, yeah, 814D. So as it turns out, she actually used to live at 814B, which I forget if it's the unit right next to me or one door down. Well, clearly because I'm not sure about these things because I don't know anybody. And as it turns out, yeah, she used to live in B, 2 doors down. And so she spent some time talking about that. Very friendly girl, very talkative. And I can see why she ended up knowing like pretty much everybody like in the apartment. So if you know about the, I haven't disclosed the location, but this is a very nice location. And we're right next to a shopping center which has lots of restaurants and a bar. And there's a bar there that's really popular with the people that live here, which makes sense because it's within walking distance. And so she would go there, and she met many people, and she ended up knowing like everybody, but everybody except me. And she would see me. She would see me coming in, and she always kind of debated whether or not to like arrange to run into me or just like knock on the door to say hi. But she was like, that might seem kind of weird. And I concurred. It would seem kind of weird. Friendly, I would say that as much, but also kind of weird. Freelancer Joe keeps to himself. I have been here now for about, I don't want to say 6 years, and I've seen, There have been other people that have come and gone, and I've ended up only knowing 2 other residents. Interestingly enough, both of them have lived to the right of me. The current people with the dogs that you hear all the time, but that's mostly because they introduced themselves first to apologize for the dogs. And then the prior ones before that, although that was just ran into him like once or twice. And yeah, but other than that, the people to the left or the other unit down, just no. I mean, if I had to come up with people that could confirm that I live here, it'd be very difficult for me to do. But yeah, small world though, isn't it? Very, 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 very small. I guess. I don't know. Yeah, just one of those things. It's still kind of weird. Alright, well, enough of that. So let's get into what we should be covering, which is a recap of activities. And this, of course, boils down to 3 distinct areas. Let's see, we've got the freelancer, we've got the training, which is my physical condition, and then we've got work. So starting off with freelancer, let's see, so if you've been following my videos, and I'm assuming if you're watching this, then you probably have watched a couple of the other videos, I've been working on integrating a calendar with my demo site, and that was because I saw potential future use for that, both personally and as for clients, and as well as continued demonstration of my technical competency. So the library install was fine. The getting used to the library itself, that's fine, at least on the surface. There's more complicated things I'll have to do, and I'll get into that once I go to the other part, which was making the events in the calendar dynamic. And that's requiring me to go do some Lambda DynamoDB work in AWS. And on the Lambda stuff, I'm pretty solid. On the decisions about Dynamo, I mean, I've had to take a step forward and a step back as I kind of reevaluate. But that's good. Those kinds of back and forth, that's how I commit things to memory. I mean, I can't just look at something once or do something once and say, okay, yeah, I got it. I don't have the eidetic memory. Repeated failure. Repeated attempts and failure. And success. Yeah, that's how I learned. Basically, attempt, fail, attempt, succeed. Attempt, fail, attempt, succeed. That's how it kind of gets ingrained into me what to do. However, attempt, fail, 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 fail. That don't work. But yeah, attempt, fail, attempt, success. That's the pathway to even more success. For me, anyway. So that's pretty good. Other technical stuff, off camera, I have been doing stuff English. It is technically English, just not very good English. I have been working on things off camera. Just today, but technically it's true. And started to do a simple application in Vue.js. It's still in the build stage, as in I found a tutorial that is basically using Vue.js with Webpack, which is good because that's what I use with my React stuff, Webpack. So I do have a simple application that comes up, but still working through some more steps. That tutorial, how they use Webpack, the structure is a little different from what I've been doing with React, and that's not because of technical things. It's just because of the style and the style of the person that came up with the tutorial. So what I need to do is, once I complete going through all the steps, then kind of rework it so that it's more consistent with my approach with React. That way, I mean, I could have 2 distinct ways of doing it, and let me think about that. That might not be a bad idea. But we're at the halfway mark, so we'll cut for an intermission. I haven't picked out the meme yet, But we'll see what I'm feeling like. Be back in about 10 seconds. All right, and we are back. Yeah. So normally during the intermission well, the intermission from recording is when I actually go ahead and take a look at the memes. Although sometimes I pick the memes out beforehand. This one I saw was pretty good. It doesn't actually reflect me. At least it hasn't reflected me in a while. But I believe it reflects somebody I know. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But anyway, we were talking about the Vue.js and the Webpack stuff. Yeah, so a consistent approach to how I use Webpack is simpler for me overall, I think. But having a different approach for like one tech stack of Vue.js and the other tech stack of React, that might be better for me mentally, so that I know for context switching. So that's interesting. Yeah, it's one of those things where it might be better short term just to leave things differently. And then I guess that's a form of, I don't know if I would even call it technical debt really, but it could be considered a form of technical debt because it's using the technology for the same purpose but in different ways. Yeah, I think well, let me finish going through the tutorial and I'll make up my mind about it then. But there are pros and cons to doing it either way. Okay, yeah, but that's the technical stuff. Okay, and now then, as for the business side of things, as to like trying to reach out to clients and things like that, yeah, still haven't done much. That said, I have heard from my brohan, my brother, and so he's not a programmer like me. Well, who is? I bet he is technical, and he's sounding an awful lot like me. Also, like how I was 5 or 6 years ago. That meme pretty much reflected me 5 or 6 years ago. And now, he's definitely like that too. So he's also looking in the freelancer side of things. Interestingly enough, for the same reason too. It's not that you don't want to work, it's just that you'd like to be able to have stronger control over the situations in which you do work. So it's kind of, it runs in the family, let's say, the attitudes toward work, having very specific preferences about how we would like to do that work. Definitely saw it in the old man, although his take on it was just a little different too. Me and my brother were probably a little bit closer in line, although he still has slightly bigger dreams. Life hasn't beaten that out of him yet. But yeah, I'm gonna try to reach out. Well, we are in contact, but I think it might not be a bad idea to kind of join forces. He's definitely more of a social person than I am, so he would have a better time with the networking aspects of things. Whereas I'm more, well, I was gonna say technical, but I'm sure the truly gifted in the technical matter of things would probably look at me with an upturned eye, if not outright derision. But you know, it's all who you compare yourself to. And I like to think that compared to people who have never touched a computer before, then I'm pretty good technically. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, other than that, haven't done much other freelancer activities. Still doing the digital media conversion. it's going alright, although I'm having trouble with this one particular disc right now. Actually, I've had trouble with a couple other discs, but they were movies, so I kind of put them aside for later attempts. But unfortunately, this is like disc, like the last disc in a TV season, so it's kind of like, ugh, that's not good. Can't really miss that. So I don't know what is going on in the deal. I'm gonna, pardon me for a minute while I uncheck things and see if maybe I can, no. I'm thinking it's bombing on particular, no. Well, I mean, if you're watching a season of 24, do you miss this? Do you mind if you miss an hour or two? Because that's what it looks like it's gonna be. That kind of sucks. Oh well, it'd be what it be. Not that I've ever rewatched 24. I think I ended up. Well, how did it work? I got like the first season because it was on sale, and I was just hooked. And this was after it was all done, so I was able to run back out like every week and pick up another one and just binge it. This was before it. Well, Netflix was already out, but this was... No, wait. Netflix was out. I don't think they had done their streaming yet, at least when I was getting hooked on this. Or maybe they had, but I wasn't into the Netflix streaming thing just then. But yeah, that was... Oh, that was a good month of my life, I imagine. Just binging that stuff. Good stuff, good stuff. Formulaic after a while. And the smart thing, as always, when it comes to those episodes, was to stop in the middle when things got boring. And they always got boring because they tried to add drama and tension, but it was people just being stupid and not listening to Jack Bauer. I mean, there's two people you listen to. It's Jesus Christ and Jack Bauer. I mean, no. One title failed. I may have to give up on that one. Oh well, at least it's not the very, very last season. Although they had another season too, the one in England. I think maybe that lived on just a little bit too long than it needed to. Kind of unfortunate. Oh well. Alright, so there was the technical stuff, there was the business stuff, again, then there was the digital conversion, which, yeah, it is what it is. Alright, so training and how I maintain all of this. Wow, maintain. I would blame that on my poor speaking skills, or, well, it looks like I did manage to drain that, so. Training, Jackness. So we just completed week 3 of the 6 to 8 week training cycle, and so far pretty good. No injuries or warning injuries, I should say. Although again, the right knee at the beginning of the week gets a little hinky for a couple days. Now I kind of take care of that by making sure to wear a knee brace during the week. Not a hard knee brace, a soft knee brace. So I suspect that has to do, well, it happens at the beginning of the week because someday I do squats. And I suspect that's what triggers it. But since it clears up by the Thursday? By Thursday. So it's not one of those things where it's a nagging injury that lasts a week and I don't ever recover from. It does mean I probably should pay more attention to my form when I'm doing the squats. But so far that's not too shabby and everything. And as for overall strength, I'm actually increasing the weights on everything except for the deadlift. I'm still working my way back up to that, and to be honest, the way it's going right now, I suspect, well, if I look forward, it looks like I might, by the end of the cycle, increase just a little bit. Whereas with the other ones, all my other exercises, I'm actively increasing the weight right now in week 3. And I think I'm kind of cool with that. Well, I remember at the end of the last training cycle for deadlift, I mean, I had reached a failure point, and I suspect it's just simply because of my diet, just not having enough energy to be able to move the weights, and not eating enough protein to actually add muscle mass to help me move the weights. So a small increase isn't bad. Plus, the other thing to consider is, you know, I've lost weight, so there's not much of a, it's less of a counter push, right? I mean, I'm actively lifting off the ground more than I weigh, so how much more than I weigh? Well, like 50% more than I weigh, about. So I guess that doesn't surprise me too much. Although, if you look at the power lifters, the guys that are cleanly deadlifting 1,000 pounds, yeah, but they eat like 5,000 calories a day, they weigh like 350 pounds, and they are impressive specimens. A little too much for me to actually aspire to, especially now in my advanced age. It is unlikely that I'll have reached that. Things will break way before I even get like halfway to that point. So, oh well. If I ever have children, and I want young, strong, strapping boys, I'll make sure to instruct them in the ways of iron. Assuming, of course, that's their thing. But since I'll be their dad, I'll make sure it'll be their thing. No, that's not true. I wouldn't force my kids to do things like that. I would only force them to do things if they're doing things wrong. Alright, so that's training. Ooh, we're cutting it close here. Cutting it close. And the last subject is work. And, well, I mean, I'm drawing a paycheck, so that's good. But the current project, as I think I've intimated before, less exciting. Which is just as well, because I have gotten a word that officially I start my new project on the 3rd of December. And overall, how am I feeling about that? Well, definitely more opportunities, that's good, and, you know, it's doing something, as opposed to what I'm doing right now, which is not so much something. And then again, the timing's kind of wonky. I mean, do I really want to start taking on new things in December? I mean, but that might not even be up to me, because I imagine lots of people are going to be taking off for the month. Well, not the month necessarily, but they're mentally checked out because they'll be planning their trips and their holidays and whatnot. So, I mean, it shouldn't be too bad to ease in. I don't know, I really should have, I probably should have checked to see if anybody's there that I've worked with before. But I don't actually think so. That said, at least for my company, it represents a significant portion of their work, so I'm sure lots of people get cycled in there anyway. I think the only thing to really be concerned about it is how it's going to affect my schedule. Definitely going to impact my chatting with my honey bunny. That's rather unfortunate. And I'm going to have to make adjustments for that. And then as well as the commute thing too. Yeah, initially it's going to be further out. And I did at least talk with my boss. And he says, of course, you know, as long as the work gets done and you hit the necessary time to charge, it's fine. But it's not always up to your boss. You know, it's all, sometimes, most of the time, it's pretty much always up to, you know, what the customer wants. So, yeah, but, you know, on the plus side, at least in early spring, hopefully, when it switches locations, it'll be to a place, if they go to the place they're talking about, it's going to be a shorter commute for me. So, that's good. Actually, a further commute might not be too bad in some aspects, because there's like one major road that kind of gets me to and from. And in that particular case, sometimes, you know, It's easier to get on further back from the choke point, because if the choke point gets backed up and you try and merge when everything's backed up, that's really kind of a hassle. So, you know, that's just my positive nature looking at trying to look for the silver lining, and I am nothing if not positive. I'd like to think of myself as cynically positive, if there is such a thing. Well, of course there is, because I'm it. But we are at the 15-minute mark, and I will cut this off for now. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me. I hope you had fun drinking and just chatting. Tomorrow we're going to go back into freelancing, so more calendar stuff with DynamoDB and Lambdas. And I'll wrap it up for now. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday afternoon/evening, and a wonderful rest of the weekend. And that you'll join me when it's convenient for you. And until then, that you take care and God bless.